no action is being taken, is there a motion to adjourn our general session?
So moved.
And yes. Okay, with that, we'll open up our work session with our engineer, Kurt Weber. Good morning. This is to consider a request from Wilkins Townhomes LLC and Drees Homes to depart from the original thoroughfare plan relative to Wilkins Boulevard in Deerfield Township.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Crystal, for putting that there. Actually, this is the second one we're gonna talk about, so do I need, thank you, Jeff, appreciate it. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. So yeah, this is Wilkins Boulevard. There's two developments on Wilkins. These are the townhomes north of the new roundabout we just put in there at Bardis. And by our thoroughfare plan, it talks about 52 feet each side is a thoroughfare plan right away. However, that was something that was put in years ago. Generally, Wilkins Boulevard has been built to having 33 feet of right of way on each side of the roadway. And so in this case, we had talked to the developer and the developer's engineer to go with 35 feet, which closely matches the 33 feet that's out there when we built Wilkins Boulevard. And in fairness, it's what we've had them dedicate, developers all up and down the corridor. So in both cases, this one, the townhomes, and then likewise the, Jenna, I'm gonna need your help. Nope. No. Yeah. Did you get that button? Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. User error on that, that's my fault, I apologize. So then this is the other one, the Drees Homes development off of Wilkins, just to the south of the roundabout. And likewise, we only need the 35 feet. 33 is what we've got up and down the corridor. Back the way, when we weren't sure if Wilkins would have to be, widened to 5 lanes. In this area, south of the roundabout, it's just a southbound lane that turns into a right turn only lane onto Field Zertle. And, with the new I-71 southbound on-ramp off of Mason Montgomery, there's a lot more capacity on Escort Drive. And that's why we put the roundabout there at Wilkins and Bardis. So if you're coming south on Wilkins, you can take the roundabout to Bardis, and then I don't know if you've been down there recently, there's a continuous right turn with an arrow that takes you onto Escort that leads you right to I-71 South. So it's really been a good project in concert with the new I-71 southbound on-ramp.
So what are you proposing here, that you have the same?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's only because our thoroughfare plan calls for 52 feet of right-of-way, and we don't need 52 feet of right-of-way.
And by reducing it to the same right-of-way that you've already built north of this, is that what's been
Yes, sir,
done?
that's right.
You're gonna have the same right-of-way that's to the north now in this section, as opposed to what's on the thoroughfare plan of 52 feet?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and you don't have an objection to it?
No, we're supportive
And
of
Deerfield
it.
Township doesn't have an objection to it, I assume?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's basically, I should have started off, my topic sentence should have been, these are, in my opinion, no-brainers, just more semantics.
And this is a benefit to the developer of this area, because he can use the property, he doesn't have to dedicate it to some potential future
Correct.
use.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Remind you, this is the thing we talked about a few weeks ago, and it's working its way through public process. It'll come back before you, and if it is approved when it comes back before you, we won't have to do this anymore. If the county engineer says it works, it's okay, then
Good.
Commissioners don't have to see this.
Because honestly, I hate to say, I'm always
No.
gonna be honest,
Yes.
but the fact of the matter is that you're the expert on this, not us.
Appreciate that, yeah, and that's kind of historically, years ago, how we always worked through it, but it's, yeah, in fairness, it doesn't match the thoroughfare plan, that's why we're coming before you.
Right.
Like Bruce said, once we get.
Well, we
through
only
that
did
process-
things on the thoroughfare plan when you told us to do things in the thoroughfare plan.
That's correct,
There's been only a few times when we've disagreed with you,
yeah,
like that thoroughfare plan down in Mason and
Right.
Turtle Creek Township or
Right.
whatever,
yeah, that's true.
with the tough property. I think that's the only time I've ever disagreed with you.
So this is gonna come back to us for approval once it's all finished?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in totality, just so that in the future, if some items like this come up, it could be handled by the engineer's office, we can handle it without bringing it to you. But these two cases that we're talking about, as well as we've got one too, the proposed Aldi development on Grandin Road, that I'll show you as well. They, in order to move forward, they need some type of approval from you. You know, I think last time we did this, we've only done it one time before, and that was off of Willow Pond Boulevard, and it was, I think you guys, made a motion that day, is how you handled it, so.
I think to answer the question is, I mean, these, if the commissioners decide to approve this, that the request is that the engineer has, we won't see these again.
We'll see the thoroughfare plan.
You'll see the
specs,
process come
yeah.
back of allowing
Yeah,
the
and
engineer.
Well,
then
if there's a variance that's required for something, that would come before us still, or wouldn't it? Or would
Not
it
if
be-
it.
Like,
what-
for example, remember
Yeah.
this argument we had about this one road
Yes,
that was where the person was being required to put a bridge over his property and he didn't have the sight line? And he was doing a partition, and then you were using that as an excuse to get him in the sight lines, and we disagreed with you on that too.
right,
But then they ultimately did the bridge thing, and so they
Yeah.
complied with
That's
you
ultimately,
ultimately.
that's an access management issue.
yeah,
That's
access
different.
management.
That's not what this is.
So
What
that's what
this
I'm
is-
asking is,
What this is simply is, we have a thoroughfare plan, and who's really stuck in the process is planning, the RPC. Because they can't approve a final plat that doesn't comply with the thoroughfare plan. And the only way they can do that is if the board of commissioners unanimously approve a departure. And the development community, like Greg is here today, and they're saying, but we don't wanna move forward with all this planning and spend all this money if we're not sure we're gonna get that departure, even though the engineer says it should be departed from. So they're just here ahead of the case, looking for a motion vote to say, you know, we're gonna unanimously approve this if it matches up with what's already there.
Yeah, I mean,
That's all
essentially,
it is.
at one point, we had talked about Wilkins being 5 lanes, you needed wider
Right.
easements.
Right.
That's no longer the case, so you
Right.
know that better than us, so I'll make a motion
Well,
to,
and excuse me, Commissioner Young, if I could, just to mention this last one, which I didn't, the Aldi on Grandin Road, just in fairness, it's, just so it's clear.
that's a separate work session.
Oh, it's my fault. I was hoping to do
Cutting
them
me
all
off,
at
and I knew
once.
what I was doing for once.
Hey, that's always the case.
I'll make a motion to deviate from the original thoroughfare plan for Wilkins Townhomes LLC and Dries Homes, to depart from that plan relative to Wilkins Boulevard in Deerfield Township.
okay, I'll second that. Is there a motion by us necessary, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay, I second it.
roll call?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Now, what would you like to
Now-
talk about, Kurt?
Like I was trying to rush us to the next agenda item, sorry about that. I was,
It's issue number
Jenna.
2.
issue number 2, better hurry, Kurt. Here we go. So this is Aldi on Grandin Road at the intersection of State Route 48, which is the north-south road there. And it's actually 75 feet on each side for the right-of-way per the thoroughfare plan. We don't need that. We, and there again, back when we weren't sure if Grandin needed to be 5 lanes or not, we did a study. The study showed, to widen 48, which we've done, and we're gonna continue to do across the river. We also need to widen 22 and 3, across the river with ODOT's help there. Instead of widening Grandin and King Avenue through Kings Mills to 5 lanes. We looked at different options there that were, basically not cost effective is probably the best way to say that. So Grandin does not need to be 5 lanes. The right-of-way that we would like, and we've already approved it on an access permit approval with Aldi, is for 52 feet, I believe it is, yeah, from their west boundary line to that's the blue line, to the driveway, and then 62 feet from the driveway to their east boundary line there at 48. And that would give enough right-of-way in order to put in a dual right turn off of Grandin if we ever need it. We don't need that today, but we could in the future. So anyway, that's also, you know, a departure from the thoroughfare plan, but one that we're supportive of, I should say, so.
Very good. I'll make a motion to approve DLZ to depart from the original thoroughfare plan relative to Grandin Road and Hopkinsville 2021 Access Management Plan in Hamilton Township.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
No more agenda items. I don't think.
Now we have a work session with our Director of Development, Matt Schnipke, to discuss creating a new development fund.
All right, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yeah, I wanted to come in front of you today and discuss kind of an idea, nothing that we'd be looking for action on today, but more just guidance. And if you all see fit, maybe something we'd bring back to you at a future date. So what we're looking at doing or getting guidance on is the establishment of a development fund. We can kind of name it as we want. But a way to put some of the county's financial resources that have been managed well to work for projects around the county that could help support projects that need a little help getting up and established, whether that's through getting better rates, getting coverage ratios that are needed for projects to move forward. And so I think similarly structured to maybe what has been done in the past with the infrastructure bank, wanted to look at maybe taking, just to toss a number out, I think maybe $10 million, similar to I think what the infrastructure bank had started with, if I'm not mistaken. And having that money be set aside into a dedicated fund, it would not leave the county's balance sheet. It would stay there, but it could be made available to provide a backing for projects that are looking to get up and off the ground. So the county would, like I said, retain the oversight of the funds. We've seen this structure in other municipalities around the state, and we've got Andy Rosart here with Bradley Payne Advisors, a municipal advising firm. He can probably provide a little bit more technical details and some other examples. But if we would use that $10 million number, it should allow leveraging of up to about $100 million of development around the county, in a whole host of different fashions. I think the couple of the things we would look is to require any community that would come and try to participate in the program to also have a skin in the game, some credit skin in the game. Whether that municipality, the Port Authority, other entities, if there's borrowing that would be associated, could take on that capacity, so it would not be something that the county would have to take on any debt for. And then I guess the last point I'll make before I maybe turn it over to Andy to give his thoughts, it would be that each particular project would come back in front of the board for a further approval on a case-by-case basis. We'd work with Andy's firm to prepare kind of a credit report so you could all, could see the credit analysis behind a deal. We'd bring representatives from the project teams in so you could hear directly from them, ask them questions on particular deals. And so that's, I guess, maybe initially what I wanted to get thoughts on and take any questions.
So you're gonna create a fund that we, the commissioners, create to take public revenue that we've received through our tax, receipts, create a fund called a development fund, and then that, which we already have these funds in our different accounts, and we got a general fund. But why is this an advantageous thing to help drive development in the county that I suppose could be in a city, could be in a township, whatever? How is that different from what we can do right now?
Well, I think it would just be a way to maybe segregate off a portion of county funds into a dedicated account that could be then
But
used
my
as a
question,
credit.
I understood that point.
Yeah,
I got the point that you wanted to segregate something. But why is the,
It's
Yeah.
credit security, right? I mean,
Yeah. So it's really the credit security, and putting it in a separate fund would isolate it away from your general fund and any liability related to that.
but by putting in a separate fund, does that mean we commissioners couldn't use it for some other purpose if we wanted to?
It would still have to be, in conjunction with probably the purpose that and need that was set up originally for that fund.
See, I
So
don't
if-
understand how that would work, and maybe Bruce can explain this to me. So if we're gonna create a fund for development, which I suppose we have a right to do under state law, I don't know. But then, how does that I mean, I understand when you have a fund like, we got a sewer department that has sewer services, and the money from ratepayers get put in a special fund, and we just can't go willy-nilly use that for something else. And there's funds like that. So I don't understand how this fund works. Explain that to me.
So similar to the water and sewer fund, you've got obligations out there, right? Ohio Water Development loans or whatever, probably. And so you just can't, like you said, willy-nilly take those revenues and do something different, decrease rates or whatever. Similar here, it's gonna have obligations out there that are be done on each transaction, right? So whoever buys that investment is gonna wanna ensure that you can't do that, and you can't just take away the $10 million, whatever that number might be, and decrease their security on whatever, economic development transaction that was. The segregation of this all, it isolates the general fund. I mean, you could do that probably in the general fund on these transactions, but it does give you a certain point in time that you say, listen, we want to seal off our liability and only do this amount of money and commit to that for this purpose. And that's why the separate fund gives you that ability to do that. Otherwise, general fund obligation means the full faith and credit of the county, and I don't think you want to go there.
Okay, I still don't.
So this would
understand.
be different than that, Ann.
Correct.
You've done these before.
We've done, actually, the Port Authority has one already, it's called the bond fund. And so the investors look at that set of, the cash that's set in reserve, the primary reserve, the letter of credit, and then each individual deal. And the investor looks at that grouping of deals and says, okay, I take that risk. It's also rated by S&P. We haven't talked about that aspect of this, but, this would have a very highly, rating, probably better than a bond fund, quite frankly.
But in all those transactions, this board typically sees, we expressly in those contracts provide that we're not pledging the full faith and
That's right.
credit of
That's
the
right.
county. In this type of fund, would we be pledging at least the fund?
Not the full faith and credit. There would be some sort of revenue stream that if that fund would, if the $10 million would decrease for whatever reason, if there's a shortfall in the obligation with that entity, there'd have to be a replenishment. And so we'd have to identify a revenue stream that would be the replenishing aspect to that fund.
And that would be the commissioner's obligation to make up that, to keep it
It
at
would
the
be.
$10 million threshold.
That's correct.
But this is also in conjunction with the Port Authority, correct? That this wouldn't just be the county coming in and issuing bonds or things like that. This would be almost a credit vehicle to subsidize and get lower rates for a port issuance.
Port or that municipality. I mean, it could be, through each deal as it comes to you, a cooperative agreement that you enter into with any jurisdiction that is wanting to do a transaction. You look at the term sheet, you look at the credit report, and you guys decide, yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down, we want to do this, we don't.
We don't have jurisdiction over municipalities. So.
But we do deals with them.
Yeah, well, we've done deals with, the municipality's done a deal, and we've done a deal like we did with the tennis tournament. Where we put up certain monies to support the tournament grounds. And as well as Mason did, the state did something. These are all set, but they're not timed to each other. Yeah, ultimately, another entity that we're dealing with wanted something, and they're getting something from 3 different entities. So I don't know what we're doing here. I'd rather that you guys, Matt and you, discuss this with Bruce to see, like, I don't even know, are we allowed to do this, Bruce?
This is the first I've heard of this, and the question that just popped in my head as Matt began to speak was, what's the authority for this? Where in the ORC does it give this board the authority to do this?
Yeah.
And that's why I asked Andy, have you done this before? We could see some, other than through the port.
There's
If we
been-
get through the port, fine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in terms of one-offs, yeah, it's been done before. I mean, Franklin County just did it on the nationwide, or they're going to do it on the nationwide arena where they pledged their casino tax to support that debt over there with that authority.
So what's the revenue stream that you are thinking about pledging towards this?
We've thought about the casino, the general casino tax that you get from the state of Ohio as a source of revenue that's not, I mean, it's a tax, but it's not a tax being generated by the people of Warren County, if you will.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
I talked to them about that. They did meet with me on this subject. And yeah, I was hesitant about general taxpayer dollars being used for this. The casino is a special revenue stream that comes in, and could that potentially be pledged against as a revenue source for a fund to leverage bigger projects that are really transformative? And I know one of our cities in particular right now is asking us to participate in a transformative project, and instead of using general fund dollars potentially for that, could we use a fund such as this? So that's what caught my interest in doing something along these lines, or at least discussing it.
Yeah.
That it's not, yeah, this is a done deal, but should we even discuss this? And I think Commissioner Grossman and our prosecutor are bringing up good ideas. Under what authority could something like this happen? And it's also, in my opinion, a way of commissioners to re-engage, which I think is critically important, with the activities of the port. The port is, in my opinion, an action arm of the commissioners that can do things outside in a quasi-governmental manner that the commissioners cannot do. I do not believe that the port should be acting 100% autonomously with or without the wishes of the commissioners, which created the port and appoint board members of the port. So this would be one more tie-in, potentially, to make sure that the port and the commissioners are aligned on large-scale projects.
We can get you a list of some of the Butler County, for example, did it with the Liberty interchange. They backstopped the TID issuance on that interchange with a non-tax revenue pledge. They could put some cash in it, and they did some, in other aspects, but we'll get you a whole list. And if I was Caleb Bell, I could rattle off this section for you, but we'll have to get that information for you.
But that's what I'm really sort of interested in, is the idea that it's not a cash outlay per
Right.
se, that it's utilizing our balance sheet and our credit rating to, I mean, ultimately, there are some pledged revenues that if there should be a default or there's something that is providing that credit guarantee, but it's not writing a check to some private developer to go and do a project. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Correct. And so there's been communities who have done direct development deals with entities. Upper Arlington, I think, I've shared with some of you, a group that did probably about $140 million in TIF transactions for transformative redevelopment deals in their community. Their AAA rating was never even questioned. And Moody's came back and said that's exactly what you should be doing with your balance sheet, is why have the rating if you don't do it in a secure way to help your community reinvest in itself?
Well,
One more point real quick. The whole issue of outlay, and that's so critical. It's not a cash outlay. It's a backstop that is, if put in the right place and the right credit standards, you would hope would never get touched.
Yeah, and from a risk standpoint, what we're really saying here is our hope would be that those funds just continue to sit there.
And
And we never have to draw on it, but the risk is if something should go south, this is how much within, you know, the deal might not be $10 million, it may be 2 million of that 10 million. That's what we are going to be willing to risk if something should happen with the bigger project, correct?
I would argue even a step further, it's not the 2 million, it's the debt service on 2 million.
The debt
So maybe
service on
it's
2 million, okay.
$200,000 or $150,000 a
Okay.
year until we get it corrected in terms of the whatever transaction that would have gone, sort of been stressed.
That makes sense.
But it's also a leveraging of not just the potential 10 million, it's what the market would say that can be borrowed off of that, which
Yeah.
could be 60, 70, $100 million.
I
We
totally
used
see that.
a coverage ratio 3 times in our analysis, and so that's pretty powerful. I mean, in terms of what you're able to do off your balance sheet, making communities have some skin in the game as well, so that it's, that they're taking on risk. It's just not only this concept.
And
I think
so
it's very critical.
you see this as something that, based on at least some of this experience in similar communities, is this sort of the last piece that helps close a deal? Is this first in? How does this function from a deal-making standpoint?
I think they're probably what you're gonna find is when communities come to you with these development transactions, that it should be the last point to help maybe
Some
not get
sort
the
of
deal
gap.
done, but also make it more efficient. So if,
So
for
they can
example,
buy the cost of borrowing,
That's
they're
right.
basically buying that down, that stretches what they're putting into it to get the deal.
let's say Franklin's doing, it's the one we've sort of talked about, Franklin's doing some transformative stuff in their downtown. If they have to go and do something, maybe that cost of borrowing is 8% on their own, because they're not as large as you, and they don't have the credit rating like you do. Now they come back with something of this nature, maybe that's not 8%, maybe it's 5.5%. And it just helps not stress the transaction.
All right, well, I'm confused still. But I'd like you to talk to Bruce, because we don't have any authority to do anything unless the ORC has given us the right to do it. And where there's silence, we don't have a right to move. So there's gotta be an express authority to do something like this. And so I'd like you guys to discuss this with Bruce, since this is the first time he's heard about this today, and see what actually is being proposed. Is there authority to do it? How it would be used? And then after you get with him and he can give us advice on it, you can come back to us.
And Matt, I would say, like, really interested in if the casino revenues are kind of being proposed as the revenue stream, just kind of like what those revenues look like historically over time. Oh, Martin just handed me something. But I think that's part of this broader conversation too, is to see what that is. And then, notwithstanding the questions, the legitimate questions that Commissioner Grossman raises. So.
I think we can get staff to answer those questions, and then but it does appear that, there does appear to be interest. I think that's what Matt and Andy were really looking for, was pursue this further or not, or not.
I think it's an interesting concept if we have the ability to do it, which is an issue we've got to get worked out. And I like the idea of helping some projects to be able to get done, utilizing the strength of, we create this balance sheet and this credit rating, and we don't borrow money because we're very, prudent, but is there a way to be able to utilize our good credit to be able to support a community like Franklin?
That's exactly why I was drawn to it, is, we're hesitant to go and borrow money, even though we are the perfect borrower. But when you mention a few of the projects that you talk about, including something, right in our own backyard, which is Union Center, right, in Westchester, that was transformative
Yes,
to that community.
yes.
That is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And how do they get those things done? This is one mechanism sophisticated players use to get these deals done.
Yeah, and I don't know how they did Union Center, was that done Westchester? Rochester, by Butler County, I don't know.
Butler County, I heard.
Yeah, you know, that one was actually backstopped by the county when it first started. Union Center, no one wanted to touch that TIF, everybody knew what was gonna happen with the interchange in, and so the county said, hey, we're gonna backstop this transaction. It's the same thing they did up in, they just copied and recreated the same thing when they did Liberty Center interchange.
Fred Buck Niehoff who did all that.
Yeah, that's a name I hadn't heard of in a long time.
Well,
Pat
isn't
Schaefer.
Liberty Center part of a JED?
Liberty, yeah, that whole Liberty Township or interchange area is part of a JED. And they're doing the same thing up on Milliken when that finally gets going, when the interchange is, helping to backstop the TIF. That's gonna take time to get up there, but also with other tools like JEDs.
But I think that's what Andy and Matt are talking about, is that when projects are brought forward, there'll be a summary that's put together, a credit report by staff and Andy that will show all the different instruments that are being used to,
Put
for
the
the
deal
project,
together.
for the deal together.
Well, talk to Bruce, let's see what we can do, and then we can come back.
And ultimately, what I wanna make sure I'm hearing you say, because I would be, you know, opposed to this if we didn't retain the exclusive right to approve or deny projects.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Great.
All right,
I think you have your
Thank you.
direction.
We gather those details and come back, Franny, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
I got a text from Kurt that something happened, that we didn't.
Something didn't happen?
That was on the agenda.
Oh.
Okay, Kurt, come forward.
Is it number 1 or number 2?
Kurt's not doing very well today. This is- he
That's all right.
Stayed up too late watching Indiana win, so
I know,
I
that's-
apologize. Yeah, so when we got out in the hall and we were getting ready to leave and, you know, both developers that approached Ryan and Stan and Ryan about, do we have everything that we need? And I think, Mr. Berline and, he had everything on Wilkins was set. Then, Stan mentioned that I didn't bring up the cross-access easement, which was also required by the thoroughfare plan. That's my fault. And,
Is this number 1?
this would be the second
Granite.
one that we
Okay,
did.
Granite,
The
okay.
one on Granite was
So it's
all
part of that?
part of that, and so I should have mentioned not only the right of way, but also the fact that the cross-access easement, and we're good with not having that cross-access easement. I should mention too, Hamilton Township approved it as a practical matter, that with their site plan or zoning, I believe, is that correct, gentlemen? Zoning approval.
So for
to
the
not have
record,
that.
there are two issues for
Yes.
which there needs to be variance. The
Yes.
second one is this cross-access issue, and in
Yes.
order to remedy this, so it's now on the record, Bruce, do we take a second motion on just the cross-access variance?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve DLZ cross-access amendment via the thoroughfare plan relative to Grandin Road and Hopkinsville 2021 access management plan.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Thank you. I think
Excellent,
this will be the
thank
last
you.
time I
No,
come
I'm
up,
glad,
so
I'm glad. We like to be thorough.
Appreciate your patience, thank you very much.
Now you'll be able to sleep at least until, the NFL starts to pick up. But see, it's a good thing our meetings aren't on Mondays. So, okay. Is there any additional, things, Martin, that you have for the board?
I do not believe staff has anything additional.
Okay. Bruce? No. Okay. Anything else to come before the board today? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
And yes, thank you.